All right, good afternoon or good morning from wherever you're joining us from. Welcome again to our African Tea Time event that is going to focus on the country of Uganda. And it's my pleasure and greatest pleasure to welcome you all, but also our speakers that are going to facilitate our discussion today. And in tea time, we allow our speakers to introduce themselves more, but two of our speakers that I scheduled to present are Musiima, Raymond, from the Michigan Fellows AgribusinessInitiative Uganda. And then we have Gorretti Byomire, and she's going to introduce herself more. I'm very privileged to have been able to work with Raymond. He is a co-PI in one of the projects that we're almost concluding. And I'm happy still to be connected to Gorretti as well as one of the partners or collaborators of MFAI, which is Michigan Fellows AgribusinessInitiative. So both of them are going to introduce themselves and tell us more about themselves, about their organizations, and then they delve into the organization. Thank you so much, Raymond and Gorretti, for accepting to be here at this very late time of the night in Uganda. It's morning, it's after midnight, but we know it's a sacrifice, and thank you so much for doing this for our audience here. And just to remind everybody, this is recorded and will be shared on YouTube at the African Studies Center MSU website. Thank you so much. So I'll give Raymond time to introduce himself, and then he can continue. He can lead us through as Gorretti also introduces himself as part of the discussion. Thank you so much, Raymond. You may go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Choti. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and it is my greatest honor to speak at the Africa Tea Time. It's my first time to be here, so I'm really excited and glad that this opportunity has been shared with me. My name is Raymond Musiima. I'm a Ugandan. Where do I start? I think we can go to the next slide, yes. Dr. Choti. So I'm very precise on my introduction. So I am an alum of a professional program at Michigan State University that was supported by the United States Department of State. That was spring 2019. And that professional exchange program was on agribusiness, women empowerment, and entrepreneurship. Academically, I'm a marketer. I hold a Master's of Science degree and a bachelor's in mass communication. I currently work with MFAI, as Dr. Choti has mentioned, the Michigan Fellows AgribusinessInitiative, in the capacity of co-director programs, strategic communication. Previously, I've worked for quite a number of nonprofits in Uganda, to mention but a few: Community Consortium, Uganda, Cell Action Network, and other companies. I also do some, part-time consultancy. I do reviews. I present at different workshops and conferences. So it's my greatest honor and joy to be here at the African Studies Center, Africa Tea Time. Dr. Choti, that's it from me for an introduction. I would love to invite Gorretti to also introduce herself. Gorretti.
Okay. Thank you very much, Raymond. Thank you much, Michigan State University, the African Study Center. I'm quite very honored and privileged to be here. I'm happy and excited. About myself, I'm Gorretti Byomire. I'm a Ugandan female, and I'm a lecturer at Makerere University Business School. I teach in the Faculty of Computing and Informatics. I'm also the director for the Disability Resource and Learning Center at MOODS. I'm a gender, disability, and diversity consultant and researcher. I founded my organization, Byomire InclusiveDevelopment Foundation Limited, where I do a lot of work with the youth. I work with the youth and the marginalized population, that is persons with disabilities and refugees. I am also Mandela Washington Fellow 2021, and I currently am the chairperson of the Mandela Washington Fellowship Disability Inclusion Working Group, which is an advocacy group which has fellows from 16 countries working in different spaces of disability inclusion in the African continent and the US. I also love to serve the underprivileged, and I do a lot of work. I'm a member of the Lions Club International, and I'm the second vice president for my club. I am a mentor and trainer in disability, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm a member of the Commonwealth Disabled People's Forum. I do inclusive education initiative by the World Bank. In my university, I sit at the council, and I'm also a member of management. I'm a yearly fellow, and I must say I'm a PhD student. Hopefully to complete, and yeah, I'm very, very happy and excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introductions. I'll go next, right?
Well, yeah, we'll go right into our discussion. And Dr. Choti, please feel free to interrupt me in case there is a question. I would really love to engage with our audience. Note that I feel, you know, it won't do any bad if someone has a question in the midst of my presentation, and you feel that that question needs to come in at that very moment. Please feel free to, you know, interrupt, and I'll have the question responded to. Yes, I've already introduced myself. Raymond is my name, and this morning and evening in Michigan, we want to have a conversation around youth entrepreneurship and community development in Africa. And I would love to use the case of my organization and, you know, make a good, I hope I'll make a good case for youth entrepreneurship and community development. So MFI, or you can call it Michigan Fellows AgribusinessInitiative, is an organization that was formed in 2018. That was formed by the inaugural alumni of the PFP program at MSU. I happened to join MFI later in 2019, after I had also participated in the same exchange program. So it's an organization here in Uganda, and it is, you know, run by alumni of the PFP from MSU. And our vision is to become a nexus of innovations across Africa. We pride ourselves with the use, application of innovation across all our programs and projects. And we happen to focus on 3 primary sectors, that is agriculture, education, and health. And the way we do this is by advancing innovative problem-solving interventions that are very intentional about addressing dear life challenges among our constituents, who are women, youth, persons with disabilities, in the sectors that I have mentioned. Our priorities across all our programs are tied to innovation. So as we work with young people, we inspire, we mentor, we train, and we encourage young people to be very, very innovative, and that is across different sectors, whether it is within health, education, if it is relief and humanitarian spaces. We pride ourselves with innovation. Additionally, we prioritize leadership because we know that leadership is a key aspect or component in society. And some of the challenges that we are having today in Africa, rotate around leadership. So we prioritize leadership, and we, throughout the training, throughout the programs that we run, we engage young people and youth in conversations around aspects like resilience in leadership, values in leadership and what they mean, to build their capacity as they grow as leaders for not only tomorrow, but leaders today. Another priority that we focus on is diversity and inclusion. And been very privileged to work with Dr. Damaris, in one of the projects that got funded by MSU, Alliance for African Partnership, which is diversity and inclusion in leadership and training. And there has been so much learning. I know I'll dive into the project later on, but I say that to mean that in all our, structuring, programming, community outreach, we are very focused on having conversations and evaluating our work through the lens of diversity and inclusion. And our understanding of D&I is increasing representation and meaningful participation of people that oftentimes live on the margins of life. In our communities, women, young people in rural-based, spaces, persons with disabilities. And my colleague Gorretti has done so much work with disability inclusion and around employment. So that is on top of our agenda in all the work that we do. Entrepreneurship is also a priority. We focus on, building the capacity of young people to create jobs, to engage with the private and civil society in ways that add value to existing workspaces. So in areas of agriculture, we are very big on agribusiness and value addition, use of innovation and digital technologies. And, that is key to us as well, because we know challenges of unemployment are very, very huge on the continent. So we work with young people who are passionate, who, also prioritize entrepreneurship and job creation. And civic engagement, we, in our programs, are very, very intentional about having young people engage in civic life. And that is meaningfully engage with not only government, but also key stakeholders. And, the areas like, environmentalism, volunteerism, politics, media engagement, those are, training themes that we usually work with young people to make sure that they are meaningfully engaging in civic life. So that is kind of like a brief of who we are and, what we prioritize and how we happen to do our work. Dr. Choti, we can move to the next slide, please. This is a tea time, but I happen to have a glass of juice because it is around past midnight in Uganda, so you can bear with me on that. Well, Our model and approach, how we do the things that we do, one of the things that we hold so dear is the personal initiative model. And there is some research and work that has been done around personal initiative. There is a good article by Michael Friends and Doris Fay. They did a very good article on personal initiative. If you can, look it up, you'll find that some of the key aspects that we chose to adopt as an organization are things that they happen to highlight. And one of them is self-starting, being proactive, and being persistent. So in all our programs, as we recruit, as we work with people in the communities, we are looking out for people who are self-starting. People who don't wait for someone to tell them what to do, but they will see a need within the community and maybe ask the right questions or take an action for that matter. We also, pride ourselves with the work of being proactive, having the ability to anticipate, challenges that may emerge, or possibilities or opportunities, and working to either seize those opportunities or design interventions that will address those challenges when and at any point that they emerge. Persistence is also embedded within that personal initiative, that as we do our work, there will always be challenges that will come around, those that we can anticipate and those that we probably may not have an idea about. But persistence and being resilient in doing the work that we do is also another way that we get to do the work that we are doing. We adopt a merit-based recruitment, and this has been a challenge, especially in our African spaces, where there is so much lobbying and people vying for others to take up opportunities. At MFI, we are very, very intentional about merit-based recruitment. So when we are making selection of the people that will participate in our programs, which are for the most part, very competitive, we are very clear on issues like, addressing bias, conflict of interest. Not that we don't want to extend these opportunities to people we know, but we want to be very clear that even those that we know are not getting these opportunities simply on the basis that we know them. So they must qualify, but they must go through the same criteria and procedure just like any other person. And that has worked really well for us, because at the end of every project, we have seen very good, promising results. And we have learned a lot from people that have gone through our programs, simply because at the very start, we are very intentional about a recruitment based on merit. Another approach that we use in our work, we are strong believers in strong partnerships. And probably the reason why I happen to be on this platform is because of that partnership and bond that we maintained since 2019. I remember meeting Dr. Choti in her office at the African Studies Center with colleagues that I was with at the fellowship. And it was a simple chat because she was not expecting us. I think it lasted only 15 minutes, but I knew from that time that, connecting with a person like her and others at MSU could be a transformational aspect of the work that I'm doing and the work that other people will be doing when we return. So strong partnerships, and we maintain that. We ensure that in all our programs we make mention of our partners and the work that we do with them. And then in all through our programs and projects, we are very deliberate about establishing professional networks. So it's not just working on a project and letting people go, we maintain those networks. We use the WhatsApps, we use social media, Facebook, to make sure that in every project that we undertake, there is a professional network that remains. So across cohorts, we are able to merge these cohorts into one for wider networking. We organize like grand congresses that bring all these different young people together, so that the conversation is not just around the project, but even beyond. And through these networks, we have seen young people sharing opportunities, academic, professional growth, and funding opportunities. And so many have actually applied for these opportunities that they find within these networks and gotten funding. And that's the thing that we love the most, because it doesn't end when you're through our hands. The conversation continues, and as the young people keep on growing, we also take pride in our associations with them. So that is also another aspect or approach that we use. We also big on having professional relationships, and this has really worked tremendously in that in all our programs and projects, we have had our friends and allies from Michigan State participate as trainers, as coaches, ever since we started doing this at MFAI. Dr. Choti has participated in some of our, as a trainer virtually, and other colleagues at MSU, Sean Lowry, Peter Lamar. I think, if you're at MSU, those are names that probably you have heard, and that is very key to us, because it gives young people in Africa the opportunity to have these conversations and listen to these experiences that people from different nationalities are having. They are very, very key and pivotal to reflect upon, and learn best practices, values, and we hold that dear across all our programs. So every project that we are doing, we send invitations to participation from our colleagues at MSU, and it keeps on growing. They keep on connecting us to other colleagues if they are not in position to participate. So that is something that we do very intentionally. And we also recruit from the people that go through our programs. At the moment, we have about 4 to 5 people that have joined MFAI, and they came in as any person would come in to participate in a project. And when the opportunity arose for a volunteer, for someone to come and work with us, they seized the opportunity. They knew a lot about the organization, what we value, and how we do the things that we do. And we have integrated them in our work. So in another way, we are also, creating jobs, adding value, and making sure that, we continue the conversation even after, the projects. And mindset change. Well, I think my mind personally changed a lot when I traveled to the United States. One of the things that I remember so vividly was the holding of the door. And I share it with colleagues here in Uganda. Something that I kept on seeing people hold the door for me until I had a conversation with one of the guys there, and he told me that this is like culture. If you're at the door and there are 2 people or 5 people behind you, you just have to hold the door, and when they pass, you also continue. It's a good thing. I kept on feeling good about it when someone held the door for me. And not that it is working so well here in Uganda, I must be honest, but those are some of the small things that we share with young people to change their mindsets. Because our young people, some of the challenges that we have is when they come, they are very expectant. They want something for them, what is in there for me. So working with them at that level to share some of the lessons that we learned in the United States, because some of them expect that leaders should have all the answers. And being honest to say, I don't know, but I can find out, it does not come so easily as it does in the United States. Or saying, no, I cannot do that, or apologizing when someone fails to do something, or actually saying, I will not attend a meeting. My apologies, does not come naturally or easily here. I don't know, what the case may be there, but from the experiences that I've had with these young people, it doesn't come so naturally. So some of these the things that we share for our young people to have a change of mind. Instead of looking for jobs, now we see young people searching for opportunities. And that is a game changer, because as many as come, do you have jobs at MFAI? We tell them, we don't have the jobs to pay you, but we have so many opportunities that we can actually help you build your capacity to pursue. And in the end, you can actually be your own boss, or, have a project or programs where you employ and have, impact. Those are some of the things that we, prioritize in our work as we approach, the projects. And we have been very fortunate to have the US Embassy, that has been very pivotal in providing funding for our projects. And MSU, Alliance for African Partnership, has also given us funding to implement. We work with several local higher education institutions here, Makerere University, St. Lawrence University, Mbara University, Gulu, quite a number of them. And we have standing MOUs with these universities to continue doing work in the space of building the capacity of fresh graduates and engaging with, students while at university to have a change of mindset, not just to learn for, getting out with a degree, but learn to solve a problem, learn to innovate and add value, to their communities when they are still at university and when they are out. And we have seen also promising results in these spaces. Young people who have written proposals that have received funding, have traveled to the United States and other countries for further education. We also work with civil society organizations in Uganda. My colleague, Gorretti's organization, she's very big on diversity and inclusion. We work with organizations like Grassroots Strategies Africa, and the list goes on and on. Private sector and government, being that we are doing work in civic participation and we are in a growing democracy. There are so many complications and controversies that come around in that space. So we meaningfully engage with government, with the Ministry of ICT, the Department of National Guidance. We reach out to, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Gender, and all these government bodies, just to have conversations with them, introduce our work, and we have seen them provide support letters during our, grant applications, because they take pride in the things that we are doing and the collective effort to making Uganda, a better place for everyone. And, we have so many prospective funders and partners because we keep on engaging and reaching out to different organizations to find overlaps in the work that we do and the work that they do, and build towards mutually beneficial ends and shared values. I feel like I've gone so fast. I don't know if there is a question at this moment, or we can continue. Dr. Choti, can I kindly get to hear from you?
I'm muted. We can invite members of the audience. Is there anybody who has a question for Raymond, or if you can feel free to add that question to the chat as well, but it's open. Please don't, okay, I thought it's a question. don't feel, you know, we want to make this a discussion for sure. And you're free to wait until the end. And with Raymond and Gorretti, you're free to chip in, raise your hand and ask your question as we go. So anyone that has a question or a comment or something in between before we continue? Now, it looks like people are listening, so we can continue and then give time at the end for questions.
Oh, fine. We can go on. I think we'll go to the next slide. I would love to highlight some of the projects that we have been involved in and programs that we are heavily invested in. Our flagship project was the Agribusiness Apprenticeship Program that was started in 2020. We started small. We didn't have funding for the first cohort. I remember so vividly as if it was yesterday. We actually contributed funds from the members to make things like meals available, transport for the people that were participating. It was a cohort of about 10 young people that were nominated to participate, and was so fortunate that when the AAP saw what we're doing, they were able to provide us funding through the follow-on grant from the U.S. Department of State, and then that was about $10,000, and we were able to continue that work. And by the end of 2020, we had reached about 30 young people who are involved in agribusiness and agriculture across the value chain, from farmers to marketers to technocrats, and the several projects were birthed from the AGAP. We had promising results, people getting funding, getting jobs, creating products from the program. And now you can actually find some of the reports about the AGAP on our website, I can share in the chat, or actually it's at the very end of the presentation. So it was a small grant, but through the grant we were able to reach out. We had partners like the US Embassy. Actually, that was the opening a project where we worked along with the embassy. We had our colleagues from MSU participate as trainers, as mentors, and that's a project that we pride ourselves in. It was our firstborn, for lack of a better word. As we continued, we got funding from the US mission to conduct an ECOS4 for emerging community leaders in Uganda, a countrywide project that we have been doing with the US missions funding, partnering with different higher education institutions in Uganda, along with our colleagues from different alumni exchange programs in the US. Gorretti is from Mandela, Washington. We have alumni of Inclusive Disability Program, Community Solutions. So it's like a cocktail of work. Having at the very start, someone, I think he's called Musiima, who is a Fulbright fellow. That's what we want to do. That's why we pride ourselves in having all people from different academic or professional backgrounds come together and work towards building our capacities and the capacities of our youth towards entrepreneurship or adding value to their community, solving a problem, asking the right questions, engaging in leadership and that kind of thing. So we got a small grant from the embassy, which was about $15,000. And in 1 year, this year, we have reached about 100. It's more of a virtual training program, with a few in-person meetings, and hopefully we can get additional funding for this project for next year and reach, big, audiences. And it's a very competitive one. We received about 1,000 expressions of interest, young people across the country wanting to participate in the program. We only take few, about 50 per cohort, because that's what our capacity can do at the moment. Hopefully with, additional funding and wider networks, we can scale this project, up. And in this project, we do leadership training, civic engagement, project management, and fundraising, because finding funding and, having financial resources as young people to promote and do the things that we do is very, very pertinent to, having impact. The diversity and inclusion, I can't emphasize that enough. It's a project that is ongoing, and we have, we got funding from MSU, Alliance for African Partnership. That was through collaborating with Makerere University and the African Studies Center, Dr. Choti as a PI, I myself, and Professor Nelson Turiahabwe as leads. And the question that we were asking ourselves was, how do we deepen the diversity and inclusion sensitivities in our organizations? Fortunately, through the project, I personally did some soul searching and reading, got some opportunities, did some online free courses, and saw our colleagues, Dr. Choti, when we were starting with the charts. She has already, she's I don't know if certified or received a certificate, is the right word, but well, it's amazing that we can grow together through the work that we do. And in that project, we have trained about 60 senior administrators. We have an upcoming boot camp for young people across the country who will be engaged in a week-long boot camp to be trained. We are very expectant, because we also want to learn from them. It's a diverse group of young people, and because we pride ourselves with innovation, we are calling the boot camp Artiversity. Very interesting, right there. Artiversity is how do we use art to promote diversity and inclusion, and in spaces like Africa, where these are very difficult conversations to have. We have to be very resilient and open to learning, so that we are able to harness the power that diversity and inclusion provides to our workplaces, to ourselves as individuals, our communities and families. And our novel project that will be rolling out next year, we are now in the preparation stages, is the Pearl of Africa Civic Engagement Academy, the PACE Academy. And we got funding still from the embassy, about $50,000 to train school-going learners who are leaders or aspiring leaders in spaces of civic engagement. And we are doing this in close collaboration with the government of Uganda, our colleagues from the United States, alumni of US exchange programs. Gorretti is a trainer there, from Mandela, Washington, all these other, exchange programs. And as you see, I think on the side of where the money is, at least there is some progress, because from the EGAP, we started with getting funding of 10. When you see, we went to the next project, 15, the next project, and it's in chronological order. We were putting this presentation together, and we were thrilled to, just see that growth. Really attest to the commitment and hard work that we are putting in to have a meaningful impact in Uganda and beyond. Hopefully, the next time we get to have a virtual discussion, the figures will be different. You know, when the figures are different there, it means you're reaching more people, having more, impact. We can go to the next slide, Dr. Choti. I would love to invite my colleague, Gorretti, to talk about why we are big on diversity and inclusion. Gorretti.
Thank you very much, Raymond, for the wonderful presentation. Yes, at the Michigan MFAI, we're quite very big on diversity and inclusion. Africa is quite very rich in diversity. Just imagine Uganda alone has like 54 tribes, and every tribe has.
Hi, Gorretti.
Yes, hi.
May I please ask you to speak a little louder, or maybe
Okay,
increase
all right.
the volume on the computer, something like that. A little.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Can you hear me now well? Okay. Just a moment. All right. I was saying that as MFI, we are quite very big on diversity and inclusion. And I was saying that just a snapshot of Uganda. Uganda, for instance, we have 54 tribes, and every tribe has its own way of life, its own culture, its own food, its own dressing. So when you look at the populations, the different populations in Africa, we are quite very diverse. People come from different tribes, people come from different religions. We have people from different age ranges, ethnicities, and so on. So diversity is quite very important, and we are so big on diversity because different people and given different circumstances, everyone has different conditions that can enable them flourish. So it's quite very important to have this training of diversity and inclusion to make people very tolerant of one another, so that if people have divergent views, if they are not really on the same page, it becomes quite very difficult. So it's important to have these young persons, these young leaders, to be trained very well in diversity and inclusion, because tomorrow when they are in the places of power or influence, they'll make decisions that are quite very inclusive on board. And then we have, when you go to our workspaces, you'll find that we are having different people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds. We may have a person living with HIV, we may have persons who are living with disabilities, we may have different kinds of persons, different religions, and so on. So even in the workplaces, this is something that has not been done before, which is something that is coming up. Institutions are starting to focus on diversity. When you look at the universities, universities are a collection center of different people from different walks of life, from different regions, different schools, different spaces, and yet you need to have them come together, work together, and network and collaborate, be able to work in teams on different issues. So when you don't have policies in place on diversity management, tolerance becomes quite a challenge, and that's where you can have that's where peace building also becomes a challenge. But when you have institutional policy on diversity management in universities, in institutions, in workplaces, the workplaces become more safer, they become more safer environments. Then we also have we have seen that many times institutions, organizations, when they are hiring a person that to work with them, they've not been inclusive. So we are big on diversity and inclusion because we have those persons, for instance, people who have English as their second language. Yes, they may not be able to articulately speak English, but maybe they are from a French-speaking country. Maybe they are refugees, but they have their qualifications. Can we please hire them? Can we also hire persons with disabilities? Can we hire a different diverse range of persons in our places? And then I realized that in our African setting, sometimes we use words that are not inclusive. We describe people by their condition, or we describe we use language that is not inclusive. So all these are things that and these things lead to toxic work environment. So using inclusive language and formats is also another way that we promote inclusion, diversity and inclusion in the workplaces. And then as workplaces, they need to create a culture where people feel appreciated and respected for their differences. If for instance, I'll give an example. We have had a situation whereby a student who was Muslim had that headpiece, and she was going for an exam. So and this person, we usually have invigilators or people who kind of like look search the students to make sure that they don't go with any written document or any written material into the exam room. So this person was telling the staff, the university staff was telling the student, you know, you're going to have to remove that headpiece. You know, I'm not so sure. You may be having something in there. So it was quite a scaffold. And this lady was saying that, no, this is my religion. Can you please respect me? I'm not going to, there's nothing in there, and I'm not going to remove it. So such instances, when you have a culture where people are mindful and of different on the differences, and they are respectful, it's quite very good. And then lastly, we say that every single person in the community has a role to play in nurturing inclusion, and every plant has their own requirements to grow. So we are quite very big on diversity and inclusion. Next slide, please. Okay, so why do we do this? We need to share US experiences. We need to amplify values, norms, and practices in work and service. We have had different, when we look at the different US exchange programs, we have had different fellows going to America or interacting with one another. And the baseline, the most important thing about this exchange, the most important thing about this experiences is the ability to respect other persons, to respect their opinions, to be able to work with others in the team, to be able to promote safe practices, So it's quite very important to share these experiences and so on. And then the other issue is that we encourage bold ideas, solutions that address life challenges through professional training program. Many times you'll find that the way the school system is structured, it's more of a knowledge oriented. I'm speaking from an experience or background as an educator. We kind of like promote a lot of knowledge as opposed to I think like critical thinking or design thinking. We leave little room for innovation. So you'll find that our program structure leave very little for the students to do programs, innovation, critical thinking, design thinking. So when students come out from the university, sometimes I would say in quotes, they are half-baked. So this professional training program, this fellowship, kind of like help to bring bridge that gap. It helps the students to be able to discover them. So what are they good at? How can they come up with innovation? How can they design solutions to life challenges? So this training, this professional training is quite very important. And how I wish that it is not only a few students who are lucky to get into this program to benefit from them. So many people need this professional training. I have been a beneficiary of the yearly fellowship and the Manila Washington Fellowship, and I can say that the training that I have had in this program has exposed me. I have also had other training. So this is quite very important, but it's quite very limited. It's only a few students that can, because you have seen 60 persons, 100 persons, we need to have more of these trainings actually. Now, not just only a few secondary school, it needs to go out there so that we can change the mindset. We can broaden the thinking of these young people. And then we need to also build synergies with academic institutions so as to advance evidence-based solutions, which challenge making barriers to meaningful women and youth participation, and it will benefit in agriculture, health, and education. Women, especially women and girls and the youth, have been left behind in so much of this program when it comes to education, when it comes to health, when it comes to agriculture. And this program of MFI comes in to bridge that gap of participation of youth and women so that they can be able to move to the next stage. And then speaking from my experience between civil society and academia, there has been quite a very huge gap with between civil society and academia, whereby we have had innovation, or we have had research which has not bridged the gap between academia and civil society. So this program, MFI program, comes in to bridge the gap between civil society, the private sector, and the academia. And we have seen training whereby we have had civil society and academia and the private sector coming together, and this has really has brought on board innovative ways where people have shared ideas, come up with solutions to the problems or challenges at hand, and this has created more equitable and inclusive opportunities for all. Thank you. I think Raymond can.
Yes, thank you so much, Gorretti, for sharing. Well, it's good time to look at challenges because in all the work that we do and how we do it, we are daily confronted by challenges. And I think the biggest challenge for youth-led organizations, just as MFI, is sustainability. And there are so many questions around sustainability. And until we are able to put sustainability on top of the agenda for every organization, it becomes very, very difficult to sustain an organization for a year or 2 years. Issues around financial sustainability, political sustainability, institutional sustainability are very, very pertinent. And we are daily confronted with that because some funders will only give you funds to run for a year. And once the funding year is done, so many cases and times it's the project will just die out. So the question that we keep on asking ourselves, how do we make our work sustainable all through the years? And how do we leave a legacy or create a pedigree or with meaningful engagement and impact of young people? So sustainability is a big challenge, and hopefully through this time we can have some conversations around that. We are happy to learn how some of you guys are dealing with sustainability, and probably those will be lessons for us. On our end, we are actually evolving from just an agribusiness initiative to an African initiative. So as you heard, most of our programs are, cut across, even when there are so many overlaps, you can see that some programs and projects are independent or distinct from the other. So, well, we started as an agribusiness initiative, but now we are into civic engagement, we into leadership, and God knows how far we'll go with this. So we are transiting into Michigan Fellows Africa initiatives, and we hope that that will create more wings for us and bridges to thrive on and have our work sustainable, because establishing these networks that we are working with is also one way of being sustainable, working with government and keeping the hard work going. So another challenge is resilience and inability to learn from our failure. For every rejected proposal that we place in, considering all the hard work that we put in, the correspondences, the meetings, running after government officials for support letters or civil society for collaboration, and save the list, the funder does not even respond to your proposal, because you probably know more than I that there are funders who only respond to proposals that they consider for funding. But I find that so hard to live with as a person and as a professional, because of the hard work that we put in. So it challenges our confidence at times, and well, we just need people around us to give us the courage to continue doing the things that we do, because sometimes we have also blacklisted some funders and said I would never write a proposal to that fund, putting together 50 pages of a proposal and you can't even get a response telling you we have rejected you. It can be very frustrating. So building resilience and hearing experiences from other people, that have worked over the years, is something that we need. So if there are any persons that are engaged in the spaces that we are having these conversations around, and you believe that sharing your experience with us will encourage us, that's something we are happy to, have a conversation around. We're also looking at restructuring, creating a vibrant board of directors. So in the near future, we'll seek out people who would want to be on the board, so we are able to spread our wings and fly across the continent. That's also one way that we're considering to be very sustainable. Just like any organization, the limitedness of finances is a challenge. Our model provides that we get grants, write proposals, get grants. We are transiting a little from that and have created a circle, which is a saving and credit union for our members and people who go through our programs. We want to integrate some business components within the work that we do, so we are not so dependent on funding. We have registered a membership civic society, and we are working on operationalizing it starting next year, so we can have funds available for people who go through our program that are at the stage of ideation and would love to transit from the ideas into business venture or scale up. So that's a component. And we are also pursuing other academic opportunities where we can have more knowledge in areas of business, how to manage businesses and grow businesses from idea to growth. And also we engaging so many technocrats and experts to pursue large grants. So if there is anyone at the tea time and you have knowledge and experience in big grants, that's the space that we want to venture in. As you might have noticed in we are running small grants, but probably there's someone here who knows how to do the big fish. Some of us are still on these tilapias. There are people who are fishing whales and that in the seas. So we also believe that if we are connected to people who are doing this, that's a need, and we will hopefully in the near future we are able to connect with such people. Research and its application, meaningful use of data. Those are aspects that we're still lacking at MFI. But we are building bridges with higher education institutions, and hopefully we can, through things like internships, we are able to, have conversations around research and meaningful use of data from our projects to see that we add, to new knowledge, best practices, and have meaningful impact. So future prospects, we have a dream of having different chapters. We started small in Uganda, but hopefully as we grow, we'll have chapters in Kenya, Tanzania, across the continent, and continuously as people who have been in the United States and other developed economies work together to have a conversation around building the image of Africa, to assert its position on the global stage as an equal partner, not just as a beneficiary or a continent that receives aid, but a continent that has a voice and a position at the stage. So we hopefully will scale up our programs in the future when we have or we are connected to wider networks and people doing bigger things than ourselves, and with the right people, we know that we will achieve our dream of being a nexus of innovations across Africa. Next slide, Dr. Choti. Should be the last slide. Yes, and I think as we wrap up our discussion, there are a few questions that we should keep asking ourselves when we are having the conversations around youth entrepreneurship and community development. Specifically, the case for Africa, we should be asking ourselves why young people or youth are failing to harness, entrepreneur and community development opportunities. When we go to the internet, personally, I subscribe to so many, grant, websites, opportunities that I see so many scholarships in developed countries, even across Africa. But and we have so many, so few young people who are, pursuing these opportunities. And we should have a conversation as to why. Is it because they don't have the skills? Is it that these opportunities are not equitable for Africans, like the requirements that are placed, maybe cash requirements or English tests? We should have a conversation, and a meaningful conversation around why our young people from Africa are not pursuing these opportunities. Is it grant? Is it that they don't have the capacity to, and by asking ourselves those conversations, we will find the root causes of these challenges, and we can work collectively to address these challenges. Another question we should be asking ourselves is why YLOs, businesses and community initiatives fail to even celebrate their first birthdays. Africa is one of the most innovative continents. I've worked with young people for about 9 to 10 years now. Every time you meet a young person, they have an idea. They have a sketch of what they want to do, what they want to become, how they want to do it. They have, invested themselves in the internet, have seen icons, and they, every young person in Uganda at least has an idea of what they want to do. A few of them set out to, to try and see if they can do it, and very few can live to attest to a first birthday of their organization, of their project. Is it that we are too innovative? Like before we actually meet one end, we're already reaching out for another? Is it we don't have the resilience, the right information? We should be having questions and conversations around this. Another is, why is it important to empower our young people as front runners to an inclusive Africa? It is so, we think of ourselves so little if we are only thinking about our countries as Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Somalia, and the like. It's high time that we need to open up and have conversations around an inclusive Africa and having young people as front runners. And why is it important for us to have that conversation? As the African Tea Party, those are reflection questions that we should be asking ourselves. And lastly, what can we do as young people, moving forward? So, well, that should be the last slide, Dr. Choti. I'm not sure if there is any other, but checking if we can move to the last slide. Those are our contacts. Just in case someone wants to reach out about the work that we do, how we do it, you would want to participate, please feel free to reach out on my email, on our contacts, which are also on WhatsApp. If you're on WhatsApp, we are happy to continue the discussion and have wider engagements. So thank you very much, Dr. Choti and the team at African Studies Center for having us. It's been a pleasure having this conversation around our case, and hopefully, we have shared something for someone to take home across the continent and continue with good work. Thank you so much.
I should be thanking you both for this wonderful presentation. I've been glued to the screen. Like literally, I've been just glued there, because when I think about the work you do, and you are both alumni of different exchange programs. And why you're doing this work, it's because you're trying to share the knowledge that you've gained with your exposure and learning from other contexts to your own context. You're not copying and pasting, but you're trying to put into practice what you think is going to be applicable in Uganda, in your organizations, in Africa, in different contexts. I mean, I think that's the most beautiful and wonderful thing, that when I listen to both of your presentations is very inspiring, because there could be some people in your groups or different people in different cohorts that have attended programs like this. But with the questions, actually, I need to go back to the questions that you posed. We need to be asking ourselves, why is not everybody doing the same thing as you do? You can't do the same thing, of course, like trying to transfer knowledge from a context, from their learning experiences to another. These 1, 2, 3, 4 questions actually sum up the issues that we need to be continuing to discuss. Why are young people failing to harness entrepreneurial community development opportunities? Could it be, and also why do many youth YLOs, businesses and community initiatives, fail to see their first birthday? Why is it important to empower youth? Could it be because of the lack of persistence? And I'm glad that you already mentioned that the priorities, the key areas that your organizations look at is diversity and inclusion, which means we're trying to attract diverse knowledges and experiences and understandings into the work that we do, and giving room for that diversity to help us thrive as organizations. Because as I always say, the world is diverse. Our organizations, or not our organizations per se, but our communities are diverse, and diversity looks different in different contexts. But unfortunately, that diversity doesn't reflect in our organizations. It happens that what is outside the organization is different from what is inside. Why do we fail to bring these innovative minds, innovative knowledges into the work that we do? And that's the problem that you're trying to address. And not necessarily that diversity, but also inclusion. We're for sure trying to bring these people in, especially the marginalized groups. But what are we doing exactly to make them feel comfortable, valued, and respected within these organizations that we're inviting them to, within the work that we're inviting them to do with us? So I can go on and on and on about the work that you really do on the ground, and how you're trying as much as you can to include diversity and inclusion in everything that you do, and the results that you've been able to achieve in that end. I think it's impressive, and thank you so much. I honestly don't have a question. These questions, I think we should keep them, because I think it's late for you, one, for another discussion. We'll be sure to continue this discussion from here in either this forum or in another forum, because what is it that we need to do as communities, as people, to have our youth progress? What you're doing is developing them. That's wonderful. What you're doing is developing people so that they can contribute to their communities. Actually, that's wonderful. But we need to see more. That's what you're asking. We really need to see more. So honestly, I just want to say thank you and give you time. If you have a response to any of these questions that you posed yourselves, what would that be? What do you think, given your experience, would be barring youth from taking up opportunities that are sometimes available to them within their reach? And then we can end there and continue the conversation. I'm sure we will have time to continue the conversation another day. But if any one of you has is able, using your experience, to respond to the question of not disengagement, but lack of motivation on the youth side. Sometimes, not everybody, but what do you think is the problem that youth are not necessarily ready to take up opportunities that are available to them?
Well, Dr. Shoti, in my opinion, I can have a go at that. And I think from my experience, young people do not have the resilience to go past an initial failure. And that is very, very challenging. I don't know if it's an attitude that from our upbringing as Africans, we don't learn from failure. We take failure as an end. And I think our colleagues from more developed countries have been taught from their upbringing to see failure as, a beginning of so many things. And that's why I think in their spaces, there's so much inventions and innovations, because to them, failure is not the end. It's just one way of something not working out. So they will try different ways of actually achieving something. So I have met and interacted with so many young people. First meet, they tell you they want to maybe pursue a master's in a developed country. And one person I tasked with opportunities, I shared with her about 5. I told her, okay, let's take it like a competition. Whoever gets to the 5th first, will be the winner. And that will be pretty much it. This person did not even attempt one. And on my side, I kept taking screenshots and sharing response emails from the funders, the academic institutions that they had received my application. So I kept on, it's not that I gave up on her and so many other young people, but later on, I got to know that she had applied for a master's program and did not even get a response from the institution. So she felt like it just doesn't work for me. And so many is that, the case for other young people in Africa who feel like if they fail the first time, that would never work. Well, we need to, engage, share our experiences and cases of so many proposals that have been rejected. And I don't know, personally, this year, I've written like more than 20 proposals. Only one has been considered out of the 20, and we are in November. So, but I'm not giving up. I'm still writing. So maybe a story like mine will, encourage someone out there. I have another colleague who is in Sweden right now, called Hassan Wadimba. He applied for a Swedish scholarship for 48 times. And he only got it on the 49th time, and that was last year. So he traveled this year. Probably such cases and stories would encourage young people to be more resilient and get past, failure to continue pursuing a dream, because there is always a dream to pursue. That would be my quick response to that.
Thank you so much. I hear resilience, I hear persistence. And I remember you mentioned that these are key things that you incorporate in your trainings, leadership trainings. If you're a leader, you have to be persistent, and you have to be resilient at the same time. And that's also a lesson for personal development. It's not going to come easy. And thank you for saying that these are part of the things that we need to be discussing. And I say yes, because sometimes people need to hear from people that they can resonate with. When youth see somebody or another youth in another position, they think that their situations might have been different. But if we share our stories actually change lives. If we share stories, the more we communicate through our own experiences, I think the more that the youth are going to understand, as you said, that failure is not the end, but the beginning. And that's really powerful in itself. Thank you so much, Raymond. Gorretti, I don't know if you had anything to add before we wrap it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, when you look at the young people, these days, some of the young people, some of them start businesses, they have startups, but they have not had, okay, we have different training, we have different innovation and incubation hubs all over the place. So these young people go out there and start these businesses. However, one thing that the concentration is so much on the innovation and starting up the innovation, growing it. Well, but when it comes to the finances, how you run the organization, how you run the startup, that one is lacking. So you find these young people starting this startup, having this organization, and then when they make maybe they get some funding, or maybe they get some little profit within the first year or the second year. So you find that they'll go and spend that money. It could be they'll think that, okay, I have earned it. No, you have not yet earned that money. And then sometimes they'll tell you, well, I have problem. My mother is sick. I need to secure my father's land. I need to do ABCD. So you find that they eat into the business. They eat into the startups, the capital that will have grown this venture, this startup, So before you know it, it comes crashing down. Someone came up with a brilliant idea. Someone has a brilliant idea, but that idea will need much more for it to be sustainable. It will need discipline. It will need discipline to take it to the next level. It will need sacrifice, you know. And like you have said, and Raymond has said, if we have these people, because we have had different entrepreneurs who have started businesses and they have gone through the challenges, A, B, C, D. If these people can talk to these young people and say, well, you have started a startup, I started one. This is what I did. This is what I went through. These are the mistakes I made. Please don't, please look out for these. You know, don't do this A, B, C, and D. I think that will be, we shall see more startups, more innovation living beyond their first birthday. We shall see more young people, more entrepreneurs having these innovations growing and expanding more than what it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gorretti, for those comments. I hear discipline, I hear sacrifice. And actually, as we continue discussing this, these are topics that or ideas that we need to be incorporating in our discussions with the young people, because they might be innovative, they might have good intentions, but they also have to be taught about how to discipline yourself, how to be persistent, how to be resilient, because it's not going to come the first time, mostly and usually. A sustainable venture usually doesn't start and peak at the same time. But really, I think the more we have these conversations with our young people, I think the more we are going to see the results. And I'm glad that you brought up these questions to keep us thinking, because you are doing a wonderful job for sure. And I know there's a lot of impact that your organizations have made in the community. But you reflect back and say, yes, this is happening, but we need to continue challenging ourselves, asking more questions. And with asking questions, we're trying to think ahead on how can we make these programs even more better, more powerful. So I want us to stop it here, and I know it's quite late. I want to thank you so much. It's morning. I'm not sure that you're going to be at work the following day, but we really appreciate your sacrifice and sparing time to lead in this discussion. As I said, we're going to have this on YouTube, and it's going to be shared the moment that it's put out there with our communications team. I'm going to be sure to share it with you so you can share with your constituents. I know there are people that registered to be here, but because of time, they might have not been able to make it. So we will have this information shared, and thank you so much again for being here. We look forward to continuing the discussion next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Choti, for having us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Choti. Bye.